Reporting tonight, Melinda Akilami.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, as tensions escalate in the Middle East following U.S. and Israel strikes against Iran, federal government issues emergency security advisory for Nigerians in the region. Federal government restates commitment to catering to the needs of communities affected by insecurity in Kwara, warns informants against aiding bandits and kidnappers. Nigerian Navy unveils its elite marine operators, codenamed Bushmen, marking a shift in the nation's internal security strategy. And Iran launches attacks throughout the Middle East in response to the U.S. and Israeli strikes across its territory.
On sports news tonight, Premier League leaders Arsenal face a title test from London rivals Chelsea as they aim to maintain their lead at the top of the table. That's tomorrow.
The federal government has issued a travel advisory to Nigerians residing in or visiting Iran and neighboring Gulf countries following escalating military tensions in the Middle East. A statement by the spokesperson in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs reveals that the Nigerian government is closely monitoring the evolving and volatile situation in the region. It added that all Nigerians in Iran and affected Gulf countries are advised to remain extremely vigilant and cautious of their surroundings at all times, avoid areas known to be strategic, military or government installations, as these could be potential flashpoints. The ministry also strongly recommended that Nigerians restrict non-essential movement and travel within the affected countries until the security situation becomes clearer and stabilizes. The advisory asked citizens to avoid large gatherings as well as public demonstrations and advised them to strictly comply with all security and safety directives issued by local authorities in their countries of residence. The federal government has also reiterated its commitment to cater to the needs of communities affected by insecurity in Kwara State. The government also warned residents who are informants to bandits to desist from such criminal act. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement for North Central, Abiodun Esiet, made the call during a meeting with community leaders in Kwara State and the theater commander of Operation Savannah Shield.
Parts of Kwara State have come under security threats in recent times, leading to loss of human lives and a growing humanitarian challenge. To find solutions to the menace, the federal government, through the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement for North Central, is meeting with community leaders in Kwara State on the need to support ongoing security efforts. During his 3-day visit, the President's aide held meetings with stakeholders in Kwara South, including traditional and religious leaders in the area, who speak to the root causes of the recent security challenge and how to overcome them.
We've heard of how Tagara, like I said, the whole town was sacked because of some minerals. So when we are talking of banditry and kidnapping, they are two separate issues. The targets are different. Papo and Lureke is second best in the world. And that is where they go to keep people in their houses, kidnap people, go into the rooms and kill the people because of the bid to control resources.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President assures the community leaders of President Bola Tinubu's commitment to tackling insecurity and enhance their well-being as she seeks their cooperation.
I want to listen to you as religious leaders, as traditional leaders, as stakeholders, farmers, vigilantes, women leaders, as association of ethnic groups leaders. What are the major concerns that you feel Mr. President should know about? This is not my first visit to Kwara State. This is like the third visit in Kwara State.
Apart from the engagement with community leaders, the team also met with the theatre commander of Operation Savannah Shield, Major General Yakubu Yahaya, in Ilorin. The military commander, however, declined interview with journalists. Addressing journalists after the meeting, which held behind closed doors, the chairman of Edu Local Government Council harped on the need for stronger collaboration between communities and the government.
The informants are problems too. We're talking to ourselves and talking to the villagers to see that we don't have informants. Without informants, if we are informants zero level informants, then there won't be any kinds of kidnapping or some other things like that.
The presidential aide says the blueprint document that detailed the concerns, observations and recommendations of stakeholders during the visit will be produced and presented to the president for further action.
Staying with security matters, but this time in Adamawa State, where the governor, Umaru Fintiri, has described the attacks on 2 communities, which resulted in the death of 18 people, as unfortunate and uncalled for. The governor made this comment on an on-the-site assessment to the area, where he also commiserated with the victims of the attack. He reiterated his administration's continued commitment to the safety of lives and property, especially of vulnerable communities in the state.
Kashinga and Shuari are communities located on the fringes of Sambisa Forest and about 5 hours' drive from Yola, the Adamawa state capital. The roads leading to these communities are harrowing and dusty in some parts. The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, who is an indigene of Kashinga, one of the affected communities, is accompanied on this trip by the State Commissioner of Police, the Brigade Commander, 23rd Armored Brigade of the Nigerian Army, Yola, the Speaker of the State Assembly, and some members of the State Executive Council. Shuari and is received by leaders of the affected communities. The atmosphere here is tense. One of the survivors gives an insight into the attack, while a clergyman provides more details.
They came into our community to attack us. 2 of them came to our market dressed like soldiers and sat among us. A few minutes later, some people arrived on motorbikes and started shooting sporadically.
These criminal people come and kill our people, about 18 people here. So the problem of this place here, as we told just a few minutes ago, is problem of gun. We need strong gun.
The state coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency confirms the death of 18 people and also speaks on his assignment.
About 18 dead bodies and then 2 people are injured. And NEMA, as an agency, we are here to carry out on-the-spot assessment.
Governor Fintiri, who is a son of the area and speaking in his dialect, assures of more security presence. Speaking to journalists shortly afterwards, he laments the killing of innocent citizens, promising to strengthen security in the area.
Innocent citizens that needs to have been protected by us as a government, but they were murdered in cold blood by these unwarranted activities of the Boko Haram.
He assures that the state government will work with the security agencies to beef up security in the area. As the governor departs the communities, they're hopeful that measures will be taken to ensure security of lives and property, especially with their proximity to the popular Sambisa Forest, which has been a safe haven for terrorists.
A systematic revolution in Nigerian warfare is how the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, describes the Nigerian Navy Marines, its latest weapon against insecurity. After 6 months of specialized training, 328 elite operators, codenamed Bushmen, have emerged as the pioneer class of the Nigerian Navy Marine, marking a shift in the nation's internal security strategy. Our correspondent Chris Alems has this report.
328 gallant personnel,
6 months of unrelenting physical and mental pressure. This is the birth of the Nigerian Navy Marines, the pioneer class of the Marine Basic Qualifying Course 1. The graduation of this elite squad has drawn a heavyweight audience to the parade ground, from the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Naval Staff to members of the Diplomatic Corps. They're all watching the experiment closely.
Through blood and sweat, sleepless nights, determination, courage, and resilience, these individuals have been forged from ordinary sailors to Marines. In the process, they have earned the distinguished identity, the Bushmen.
Their curriculum was a masterclass in modern survival. The syllabus spanned grueling physical conditioning, land and jungle warfare, and precision marksmanship. But their edge lies in amphibious operations and tactical riverine capabilities designed to take the fight to the enemies in the nation's most difficult terrains.
It is a step towards enhancing our operational reach, flexibility, and combat readiness across all maritime and littoral environments. Going forward, the synergy between the Nigerian Navy Marines and the Special Boat Service will provide the amphibious depth and precision delivery required across the full spectrum of Nigerian Navy operations.
Their transition from trainee to elite operator is now complete. Their new identity is sealed with a change of beret and the pinning of badges, a symbolic transformation into a force specialized in the unconventional. As Nigeria grapples with a persistent surge in banditry, kidnapping, and violent extremism, the Chief of Defense Staff describes this unit as a timely revolution.
This continuation of military policy reflects a deep sense of commitment, respect, and loyalty to duty in the service of a great nation. Continuity has enabled the Nigerian Navy to record outstanding successes in Nigeria's maritime domain, and now is the time to consolidate on these gains.
With the formalities over, the Bushmen now await deployment. For the military, it's a boost in manpower. For our weary nation, it's a new glimmer of hope that these boots on the ground will finally tilt the scales towards peace. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
To legal matters now, the Chief Judge of Ogun State has unveiled an electronic affidavit platform and a new multi-door courthouse practice direction as part of sweeping reforms to modernize justice administration and ensure effective service delivery. Speaking at the state judiciary's 50th anniversary public lecture at the June 12 Cultural Center at Abeokuta, the Chief Judge said the judiciary must evolve to meet rising public expectation and technological realities. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, commended the state judiciary for upholding fairness, the rule of law, fundamental human rights, and accountability in its 50 years of existence.
The Ogun State Judiciary Staff Manual reflects our collective commitment to excellence in service delivery and to maintaining a judiciary that is not only independent, but also efficient and responsive. As we celebrate the past, we must also confront the responsibilities of the future. Our duty is not merely to preserve tradition, but to refine and strengthen it. As Roscoe Pound, the eminent legal scholar, once observed, law must be stable, yet it cannot stand still. This balance between stability and progress must continue to guide our reforms.
As we approach another election cycle, the responsibility of the judiciary becomes even more pronounced. Elections test democratic institutions, and the courts often resolve political disputes. I urge the judiciary of Ogun State to remain impartial and courageous. Do not allow yourselves to be drawn into partisan interest. for the credibility of a democracy depends on your neutrality. Together, we must ensure that Ogun State remains peaceful and governed by the rule of law so that we can have the safest state in this country for people to live, work, and play.
In part two, after the break, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, warns against examination fraud perpetrated by examination centers with active connivance of parents and candidates. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channel Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. As tensions escalate in the Middle East following U.S. and Israel strikes against Iran, federal government issues emergency security advisory for Nigerians in the region. Federal government restates commitment to catering to the needs of communities affected by insecurity in Kwara State, warns informants against aiding bandits and kidnappers. Nigerian Navy unveils its elite marine operators, codenamed Bushmen, marking a shift in the nation's internal security strategy. And Iran launches attacks throughout the Middle East in response to U.S. and Israeli strikes across its territory. Staying with the issue of the tensions in the Middle East, operations across UAE airports remain suspended and schools will shift to remote learning across the country following an unprecedented missile attack on the nation by Iran. The UAE government says it successfully intercepted and destroyed multiple missiles fired from Tehran, reporting the death of one civilian and damage to several properties. While member states of the GCC have condemned the attack, heads of governments across the world have shown solidarity with the UAE, offering support to the Middle East's most vibrant hub. Our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, brings us more.
Loud explosions heard across the UAE on Saturday have sent residents and visitors into a state of heightened vigilance as multiple waves of ballistic missile attacks by Iran hit parts of the country, as well as neighboring nations Bahrain, Qatar, and Kuwait. These attacks have led to panic, damage to some properties, including a hotel on the Palm Jumeirah Island, and the death of a Pakistani resident in the UAE, which has now closed its airspace to flights till further notice. The Ministry of Defense announced successful interception of several missiles, whilst warning members of the public to take shelter and stay clear of any debris or suspicious objects that have fallen to the ground. Multiple advisories from several government agencies and embassies urge people to stay indoors, keep away from windows, stay calm, and avoid stockpiling. The attack, which Iran says targets U.S. bases in the region, was provoked by joint military strikes against it by the U.S. and Israel. However, GCC nations have condemned the retaliation, with Saudi Arabia extending support to its neighbors. UAE news agency WAM reports Saudi's Crown Prince has expressed the kingdom's readiness to provide all possible support in response to any measures the UAE decides on. In the meantime, residents of the UAE and Bahrain have been warned against spreading fake news or risk legal action. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadegoke for Channels Television News.
Back home, the Anambra state government has destroyed the shrine of convicted native doctor Chidozie Nwagu in Idemili South local government area. The action follows a high court judgment in Oka convicting him for involvement in ritual practices and related offenses. The Anambra State Homeland Security Law has empowered the state to seize any property used to facilitate kidnapping or ritual-based crimes, as well as destroy structures or items identified as instruments of fetish criminality that threaten public peace.
Under a plea bargain arrangement, prominent traditionalist and native doctor Chidozie Nwangu, widely known as Akwokoko Tiwaraki, entered a guilty plea, paving the way for a reduced sentence. He admitted to administering charms allegedly linked to unlawful wealth acquisition and related offences. Delivering judgments, Justice Jude Obiora convicted him and imposed a 24-month prison sentence, with part of the term to run concurrently with the time already spent in custody, leaving 11 months remaining. Reacting to this, counsel to the accused confirmed the verdict was in line with the agreement reached with the Anambra state government.
There is no way I will tell you that I'm not okay with it, because it is a plea bargain agreement. That was the agreement was signed with the government when we agreed on the issue of plea bargain. And the government kept to their own side by sentencing him 11 months imprisonment.
Enforcement of the judgment followed almost immediately. The shrine of Akwokoko Tiwaraki, located in Obai, Demili South local government area of Anambra State, was demolished by operatives of the Agune Chamber Strike Force, led by the Special Advisor to the Governor, Chukuma Suludo, on community security.
Now bring it out. Everything, yeah, that's right.
Native pots, photographs, molded figures, clothing, calabashes, and other ritual items lay exposed before being dismantled and set ablaze, marking a decisive end to the shrine's activities.
Mine is to give effect to the judgment of the court, the aspect that concerns the shrine, which is to ensure that the shrine is destroyed and burnt down. Also, mine is to give effect to the provisions of the Homeland Security Law, which made it clear that any premises being used for the nature of offense is forfeited to the state government. So we are here to formally again take over the entire space. It's now the property of the government of Anambra State, going by the Homeland Security Law. And the shrine, as you can see, is already destroyed and burnt down.
Chidozie Nwangu was arrested in February 2025 alongside two other native doctors, Onyebuchi Okocha, also known as Onyeze Jesus, and Ekene Igbokweze, alias AK Heat, who remain in custody.
To education now. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, is warning against examination fraud involving centers, parents, and candidates. Addressing a news conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, the JAMB registrar, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, says the board is prepared to prosecute parents and their wards who pay for special centers in order to secure good grades. He adds that the board is intensifying a nationwide crackdown on perpetrators of examination fraud ahead of the 2026 examination.
Soliciting illegal assistance is a punishable offense. Being a willing member of a WhatsApp group where these fake services are offered will no longer be condoned. Ignorance will not be accepted as a defense. That is, we are not going to allow anybody to say, oh, we want to. And a message to parents and guardians and the public. Parents must understand that paying for fraud does not secure a child's future. It destroys it. You are teaching them that cheating is a strategy, that deception is acceptability, and that merit is optional. The lessons does not end with the UTME. It follows your children into the tertiary institution, professions, public life, and with devastating consequences for the nation. Those that are still advertising for Expo, special packages, want to tell you that they are just fraudsters. And anybody who patronizes such people will pay for it.
The Taraba state government is collaborating with the World Bank to enhance primary health care services in the state as it flags off the distribution of medical equipment and motorcycles in 16 local government areas. Officials say the gesture is aimed at strengthening logistics for supervision and ensure better healthcare outcomes across primary healthcare centers, especially in underserved communities.
The flag-off and distribution of medical equipment and motorcycles by the Taraba state government and the World Bank is part of the IMPACT project to strengthen immunization services in Taraba state.
A round of applause. Thank you, PRO.
The IMPACT project is an initiative of the Taraba state government with support from the World Bank to reduce maternal and child mortality in the state.
Here in Taraba state, under Component 2 Immunization Plus, we have achieved significant milestones. These include digitalization of NHMI reporting across 168 primary health care centers across the state.
Records at the Taraba State Primary Health Care Development Agency reveals that annually, the state loses at least 1,500 under 5 children to vaccine-preventable death. Similarly, under 5 malaria testing rate in the state is estimated at 46.9%.
The commissioner is here. He's a permanent secretary.
However, the state government is hopeful that the IMPACT project will help to reduce the burden of under 5 mortality.
One the state that is doing well in terms of immunization program. Before now, we had a Gavi supporting the state. There was an MOU between Taraba State and Gavi, which started implementation in 2022, ended 2025, last year, March. And Taraba State we did very well, and we're still doing very well. And with the impact on board, we have presently under impact, we have 113 primary care centers that is undergoing revitalization to level 2.
The Taraba State Commissioner of Health is representing the state governor at the event and vows to ensure existing gaps are closed in the state's primary health care delivery system.
We are going to hand over every local government with the director of primary health care, and the chairman will hand over these things to them, and they take to their people. Then after that, we will go follow local government by local government for supervision to ensure that these things are installed and are used as they should be used.
Government officials say the distribution marks another major step in the state government's effort to strengthen primary health care system in the state and improve access to essential services for mothers and children, as well as improve the overall health outcomes in the state.
Still ahead on the news at 10, oil markets are bracing for price volatility next week following tensions in the Middle East. That's in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The Presidential Initiative on Unlocking Healthcare Value Chain, PVAC, in collaboration with partners in the National Malaria Elimination Program, say there's significant progress towards ensuring that Nigerians have access to affordable quality treatment and essential commodities. Speaking during a technical working group meeting in Abuja, the national coordinator, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, emphasized the critical role of enhancing malaria care, which is a major public health priority in Nigeria. He also added that the government cannot achieve its objective alone, as it requires strong collaboration with multiple stakeholders to achieve a malaria-free country.
Malaria is really a big agenda for all of us in Nigeria in the health sector. Yeah, but also from the perspective of commodities and essential medicines or other supplies that we try to push. And the key really is to not only have the high quality,
products available, but they should also be affordable. And I think this is the crux of this program, which is why it's called Affordable Drugs for Malaria program. So this is the goal, ultimate goal, and government cannot do this alone. We need the private sector, we need advisory companies, we need the NMEP program, we need everybody working together. And I think this is why this technical group has been formed, so that we can be aligned, and whatever we do, the ultimate goal and the beneficiary, the eyes on the patient and the Nigerian who needs those commodities to come at affordable prices.
This intervention, we know it's or project, we know would go a long way to improve access to quality malaria products. I really don't want to jump the gun, but from the last malaria indicator survey, we're having very good results, but we're not yet there. But so far so good, and we're looking at very good strategies, very good projects that would really speak to all of the good work that we have done so far based on what data is saying. And the Affordable Diagnostics and Medicines Facility is one of those good projects.
To other stories now. The Nigeria Tax Act 2025, which officially took effect on January 1st this year, aims to simplify a fragmented system by consolidating over a dozen legacy laws into a single unified framework. The government has described the new regime as a game changer with the intention of taxing the rich and protecting the poor. This special report looks beyond the legal aspects of the law and delves into what the new tax law really means for the average Nigerian worker.
For years, Nigerians navigated a complex web of taxes, a situation the current administration of President Bola Tinubu set out to change with some reforms. The new reforms are consolidated into 4 core acts, namely the Nigeria Tax Act, which governs personal and corporate income, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, which standardizes collections across all levels of government, the Nigeria Revenue Service Act, which replaces the FIRS with the Nigeria Revenue Service, and the Joint Revenue Board Act, aimed at ending double taxation by harmonizing federal and state efforts. The government describes this as a pro-poor reform.
These reforms are designed to provide relief to the Nigerian people. Bottom 98% of workers will see either no PAYE tax or lower taxes to be paid. Small businesses, 97% of them will be exempted from corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax, and large businesses will see a drop in the taxes that they pay. The whole idea being to try and promote economic growth, inclusivity, as well as shared prosperity for our people.
Here is how the new tax law affects those at the bottom of the economic ladder. Zero income tax. Individuals earning 800,000 or less annually are now completely exempt from personal income tax. New rent relief. The old consolidated relief allowance is gone, replaced by a 20% rent deduction on annual rent, capped at 500,000, providing direct relief to tenants. VAT protection. While the VAT rate remains at 7.5%, the list of zero-rated essentials has expanded to include basic food, healthcare, education and electricity, shielding low-income households from inflation on daily needs. Job loss protection. Tax-exempt compensation for loss of employment or injury has jumped from 10 million naira to 50 million naira. Early feedback since the January 1st rollout has been a mix of relief and caution.
Workers generally have said the little salaries they earn have been further depleted by deductions, taxes. So workers are very angry and they say they are completely pauperized. That is the complaint we are getting. Or those are the complaints we are getting.
Whether you like it or not, it's affecting everybody.
once you are being taxed from the office, and when you go to ATM machine, you are taxed. You recharge a card to make calls, you are taxed. That means you are being beaten from all corners.
However, analysts warn that while direct taxes are down for the poor, indirect costs, such as a new 5% fuel surcharge on fossil fuels, could erode these gains by driving up transportation costs and the general cost of living.
Nigerians are groaning every day when it comes to the realities of the economic situation we're facing. And then, if you then add the other incidentals that Nigerians spend on a daily basis, things like there's no lights, you have to fuel your generator, things like you have, your road is not being done by the government, you have to contribute as a community to do it, things like security, you have to pay vigilantes and all of that. So where do we take all of those monies from?
First, we must acknowledge that this is an important reform. And even at the Institute for Development Studies, my professors have commended the Nigerian government. And, it is a case study that other countries would even come and learn from. But I think one of the major concerns here, particularly for people from low-income households and the reduction of their income is, what would this money be used for? If governments can ensure that we can reduce inflation and ensure that the goods and services in the open market are affordable, are available for people from low-income households, then there will be no concern or complaint from people that are earning lesser.
The government says its target is to raise Nigerians' tax to GDP ratio from about 10% to align more closely with the African average of 18%. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, says Africa's first Media and Information Literacy Institute to be designated in Nigeria will be commissioned in March. He made the announcement during the 20th Ramadan lecture series in Abuja, where he also highlighted various youth empowerment programs initiated by President Bola Tinubu that leverage technology as a pathway to economic development.
The Governor of Jigawa State, Malam Umar Namadi, the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Livestock Development, Malam Idi Maiha, traditional rulers, Islamic clerics and other dignitaries are gathered here for the 20th annual Ramadan lecture organized by some government media agencies. The focus for this year's edition is on the growing influence of digital technology on young Nigerians.
As technology expands opportunity, it also magnifies risk, such as misinformation, cybercrime, and moral disorientation. Technology itself is neutral. It becomes constructive or disruptive depending on how it is used.
The guest lecturer emphasized that digital technology is a double-edged sword, capable of nurturing a generation of innovators, yet equally capable of exposing society to moral decline.
Technology has remained a constant factor in the development of channels of information for man. And they have all come with their advantages and, of course, disadvantages. Today, our generation is the generation that has at its fingertips information from every part of the world in a minute. When we talk of radicalization, not necessarily taking up arms or becoming completely violent, but it changes you from what you are to what you should be, not what you ought to be.
The Minister of Information in his address acknowledged that while digital technology presents major opportunities, it requires accountability and discipline. He also used the occasion to give an update on the UNESCO Media Institute.
Media literacy, therefore, is the vaccine against misinformation. I'm happy to announce that Nigeria is the first host of the first ever Media and Information Literacy Center to be hosted by any country in the world, and it's going to be unveiled by the end of March by President Bola Tinubu and the Director General of UNESCO. this is the first center anywhere in the world where people can be taught how to navigate these digital tools.
As the organizers mark 2 decades of the joint Ramadan lecture, they reaffirmed their commitment to using their platforms to foster conversations that promote moral reawakening and national development in an increasingly digital age. Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
The Edo State government has asked contractors handling various road projects to maximize the remaining dry season and deliver on schedule. The Commissioner for Works, Mr. Felix Akabwe, made this known after monitoring ongoing road projects across the Central Senatorial District of the state. He also confirmed that arrangements have been concluded to compensate all those affected by the ongoing construction work.
It will not affect any.
The monitoring team from the Edo State Ministry of Works began an assessment of major road projects in Edo Central District.
Yes.
The next set of projects are located in Eastern Northeast and Eastern Central local government areas. Some residents expressed optimism about the expected impact of the projects, even as construction work continues.
We are not a city. Yes. Before they call us that, when we go to that village, we are no longer a village. We want to enter back now from Uromi to this community. We say you enter back to Ivelulu community.
For the state government, contractors must take full advantage of the dry season to complete the projects, having been adequately mobilized to site. The Commissioner for Works, Felix Akabwe, emphasized that time is of the essence, especially with warnings from the National Meteorological Agency.
NIMET has said that rain is going to come early this year. So, and as such, we have been able to talk to all our contractors to ensure that they maximize their pace of work and exactly what they are doing. And on our part, our state, Mr. Governor is not owing any contractor. We play our obligation, ensuring that once they bring safety kit, we pay them. So, and so they don't have excuse to delay our jobs.
The tour continued into the second day, with the monitoring team visiting additional project sites in Eastern West local government area. With several projects underway across the Central Senatorial District, some properties have been affected by the construction work. However, Mr. Habwe maintains that compensation plans were put in place before the commencement of the projects.
They have passed through a lot of hardship, and the people are ready to cooperate with government what they want to do. So, but where necessary, we are ready to pay compensation. So, it's also something that is embedded in the contract. You know, those properties that will be affected, areas that we need to do the location, they have all embedded in the contract. So that was the governor instructed that they must be embedded in the contract. We cannot demolish people's property and we don't compensate them.
The Edo State government says more than 20 road projects are currently ongoing across the Central Senatorial District, all of which are expected to be completed as scheduled.
Staying in Edo State, we're talking politics. The All Progressives Congress says its focus is on the party's progress as well as its upcoming state congress, and it's not concerned about the presence of any other party, including the Action Democratic Congress. The APC chairman, Jared Senebe, who made this known, also stated that the government's developmental strides are drawing many new members to the party.
I don't know whether there's ADC in this state because the state is speaking with one voice because of the developmental stride of Senator Monde Okpewolo. How can we know whether there's another party when all other political parties within the state has collapsed into the APC? So that's the reason why we are saying because of the performance of the governor, the whole state have decided to come to one party, which is APC. So that's why I'm saying there is no other political party in Edo State. My advice to all members of APC is that on Tuesday, if you are a delegate, you come to the venue where the Congress is going to be held, and we should, those that are not delegates should stay in their respective wards and local government, because that day is going to be a day of celebration. That's going to be a new beginning for the party as we go forward.
So still talking politics, 25 members of the Osun State House of Assembly elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, have formally defected to the Accord Party. A statement issued by the Speaker's Chief Press Secretary, Olamide Tamiu, confirmed that the decision was reached during a parliamentary meeting. According to the statement, the members had resigned from the PDP weeks ago following what they describe as deep reflection and extensive consultation with supporters, political associates, key stakeholders, and resolved to align with Accord. The lawmakers are convinced that Accord provides a more stable, inclusive, and people-centered platform through which they can continue to serve the people of Osun State. Let's check out those oil markets now, bracing for further price strength and volatility next week. That's following Middle East tensions, which continues to put pressure on global energy supplies and investor sentiment. Analysts say that traders are increasingly pricing in the risk that oil supply could tighten if the conflict spreads or disrupts key export routes. Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate, that's the WTI benchmarks, have already climbed to multiple month highs, with Brent above $72 per barrel on renewed risk premium buying amid fears that the conflict could affect shipments through the critical choke point for about 1/5 of the world's seaborne oil. And those tensions escalate between Israel and Iran, with U.S. involvement adding to the risk profile. Investors are expected to shift capital into gold and silver. Investors typically flock to gold during this period of geopolitical uncertainty, pushing demand and prices higher. In recent trading, gold futures and spot prices have climbed sharply after news of Middle East tensions, reflecting what analysts describe as a classic risk-off response from global markets.
Many thanks indeed, Melinda, and welcome to the world of sports. We begin with the Nigeria Premier Football League, where El Kanami Warriors have beaten Abia Warriors 2-0 in the battle for continental spots at the El Kanami Stadium in Maiduguri. Dadi Abdurrahman and Musa Bashar scored in each half to give their late chairman Ibrahim Mustafa a befitting farewell. Well, the Warriors are now 6th on the table with 41 points. Well, more updates for you. Relegation threatened. Kwara United needed a 9th-minute strike from Hakeem Akoni to defeat Wiki Tourist 1-0. Despite the win, Kwara United are still 18th on the table with 29 points. Let's switch gears now to the English Premier League and bring you up to speed with games played earlier today. You have them on your screen. The Ghana forward Antoine Semenyo fired Manchester City to a gritty 2-0 win over Leeds United as they closed the gap on league leaders Arsenal without Erling Haaland. Liverpool produced a clinical first-half performance to score 3 set-piece goals in a 5-2 win over West Ham United. And Theo Barry scored a dramatic late winner as Everton stunned Newcastle United to maintain their push for a place in Europe. Burnley mounted a comeback to overturn a 3-goal deficit, but were denied a remarkable point as Mikel Damsgaard struck a dramatic 93rd minute winner to give Brentford a 4-3 victory at Turf Moor. And Evan Nielsen came off the bench to help Bournemouth extend the unbeaten run to 8 games as they drew with Sunderland at the Vitality Stadium. Well, it's Super Sunday tomorrow, and Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has hinted that several players could return when the Gunners face Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium, with the Gunners aiming to maintain their lead at the top of the table. Speaking ahead of the London derby, the manager says Kai Havertz and Max Darman are on the comeback trail in a major double boost for the league leaders. Chelsea travelled to North London on the back of 2 disappointing draws, but the 43-year-old Spaniard believes his side must approach the match with the right mentality.
What it is about the preparation, and the preparation gives you confidence and the right emotional state to get to the game with the belief and the conviction that you're going to win it. And after that, you have to earn the right to do it. They've done different things. They can change throughout the game. They have the players and they have a manager that is very comfortable doing that. So we are prepared. We're going to be prepared in the possible scenarios that we can face throughout the game, and then try to be better than them.
And staying with pre-match conferences, this time from the camp of Chelsea, where boss Liam Rossignol has acknowledged the difficulty his team are facing to qualify for the Champions League as they prepare for a difficult run of league fixtures. Chelsea visit Emirates Stadium tomorrow Sunday to face rivals and leaders Arsenal, but the big games come thick and fast. Well, Chelsea's clash with Arsenal is followed up by clashes with Aston Villa, Newcastle and Everton, with both Manchester clubs to come after the March international break. But the manager, who is 41 years old, says he's enjoying the challenge.
The Premier League is so difficult every week. The challenges that you face, the different tactical problems that you have, the physicality of the league. I don't judge one game as harder than the other. What happens against the higher teams in the league is they're more open because they want to attack more. There's different tactical things that you can work on. For me, I'm very happy with this group. I'm happy with the start that we've made. We've won 8 out of 12. It should be 10 out of 12.
Well, these are indeed very interesting times for Tottenham Hotspur. And interim boss Igor Tudor has admitted his struggling side are not fit enough as he pledged to put some petrol in the engine to avoid relegation. Tudor has arrived in North London with Spurs involved in a battle to avoid playing in the second tier for the first time since 1977 and 1978. Spurs have won only 2 of their last 18 matches and sit just 4 points above the relegation zone ahead of Sunday's trip to Fulham. The 47-year-old Croatian knows his players' physical condition is key to their hopes of beating the drought.
Physically, we are not in an amazing situation, amazing moment. You know, it was lots of games they played last period without too much player available. So I believe the physical condition of the team drop down. So we need to use this period also where we don't play the games to put some gas, you know, to put some benzina, petrol, to some petrols there in the engine, you know, to engine start to work better.
Well, that's your sports news tonight. I am Kelly. Guys, back to Melinda.
Many thanks, Kelly. On the international scene, Iran has launched attacks throughout the Middle East in response to the United States and Israeli strikes across its territory. Iranian attacks have been reported in Dubai, Doha, Bahrain, Kuwait, places with U.S. military bases or its allies. This move came after the U.S. and Israel launched attacks across Iran. Israel says several senior figures from the Iranian regime have been eliminated. However, Iranian state media reports that there were civilian casualties, as at least 53 people were killed at a girls' school. U.S. President Donald Trump said earlier that major combat operations were underway and urged Iranians to take over the government. New explosions were reported across Iran this evening, and Israel says its air force continues to operate in the country. At least 20 people have been killed and others injured after a Bolivian Air Force cargo plane crashed in the western city of El Hato. According to authorities, the incident occurred on Friday evening as the plane was arriving at the El Hatos airport from the city of Santa Cruz. Aviation officials said it reportedly went off the runway and hit nearby vehicles. The Defense Ministry later confirmed that its C-130 Hercules was involved and that it had been moving banknotes to the Central Bank of Bolivia. Police fired tear gas to disperse crowds, allegedly trying to take the scattered banknotes. And the main news again. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, the federal government has issued emergency security advisory for Nigerians in the region. And that's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.